is I am a student in the Global History course online. This is my first presentation. The topic is the Rosetta Stone conflict. First, why is it important, the Rosetta Stone? It represents a culture and also is the linguistic key to decipher hieroglyphics and probably the single most important conduit of understanding between the modern world and the ancient Egypt. The Rosetta Stone was carved in the year 196 before Christ. This artifact can help with translation because in it there is a written passage in 3 different ancient languages. The Rosetta Stone was stolen in the 1800s by the British. Second, the British-Egypt conflict according to Kant. Kant's most important topic is scientific puzzle solving by paradigm shift. The Rosetta Stone dilemma is a political and cultural issue because it is part of the Egyptians' puzzle for discovering its legacy. A puzzle is something to which there is a solution, and in this case, there is a missing piece for Egyptians' puzzle. Third, the British-Egypt conflict according to Latour. In Latour's view, taking the Rosetta Stone to British ground has to do with knowledge, because knowledge can be understood as to bring bad things. Bring bad things to people who haven't had the opportunity to visit other places, countries, cities, and who haven't had the opportunity to know this kind of interesting objects. Therefore, by taking these objects to the land, to their own land, they can share the knowledge of it. However, a piece as relevant as the Rosetta Stone has already provided this understanding to Europe for a long time, and it should go back home. Finally, this is Dr. Sahi, who was the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, the SCA. He is a very famous man. He's very famous archaeologist, and he's also famous because he has fought a lot for recovering these kind of artifacts that are around the world. So far, he has helped the return of 5,000 artifacts during his position at the SCA. Currently, he has demanded the British Museum for the Rosetta Stone. However, there hasn't been an answer yet. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, my name is Joana Concha. I am a student for a Global History course online. This is my essay number 1. I chose question number 2. Basala analyzes the ways in which scientific knowledge moves around the world. In Cien Años de Soledad, reaches Macondo via a group of gypsies that acts as a bridge between the scientific world and the world without science, of José Arcadio Buendía. Analyze the science of the gypsies according to the model presented by Basala. Gabriel García Márquez's masterpiece, Cien Años de Soledad, takes the reader to an unknown world, a distant and peculiar place built in the author's imagination. This place is called Macondo. In this land of dreams, where death is unfamiliar, lives Jose Arcadio Buendia, a man with a lot of initiative, creativity, and curiosity. He is beloved by his family and neighbors. It could not be different. Jose Arcadio's history had a close relation with Macondo's foundation. Macondo was an isolated place, in which agriculture was the most important activity for the survival of its citizens. It is possible to imagine the calm and the simplicity of this town, the pleasant personality and naturalness of its people. Nevertheless, this plainness became a burden for Jose when a group of gypsies arrived at Macondo several times throughout the years. They brought every time a typical and fascinating artifact that aroused Buendia's interest. The science out there was shocking for the villagers, but especially for Jose, because in his land of fantasy, science was mysterious and unreachable. In George Vasala's view, this scenario is the result of the diffusion of science, from its holders to those who ignore it. Vasala built a concept called scientific revolution, and a model that explains when the modern science was born and how it reaches faraway domains. The bridge the gypsies created between the scientific and non-scientific worlds by taking famous inventions can be understood through the model presented by Vasala. The first invention that the gypsies brought to Macondo was a magnet. According to Melquiades, one of the gypsies, said it was the eighth wonder from the wise alchemists of Macedonia. Jose Arcadio was astonished. He believed it was possible to obtain gold out of the land. Therefore, he exchanged some of his family's goods to acquire it. In spite of Melquiades' warning, Jose used it to find gold, but he never did. Even though he was disappointed when Melquiades went back to Macondo, Jose was fascinated with the new invention the gypsy had brought. This time, the objects consisted of a magnifying glass and a telescope, which were the last discoveries of Amsterdam Jews. Regardless of his last bad experience, Jose Arcadio exchanged the magnets and gave some money for these new artifacts. He thought it was possible to create a war weapon with them. He composed a manual with an amazing didactic clarity and an irresistible power of conviction. He sent it to the authorities with numerous testimonies of his experiences. Despite his efforts, he never received an answer. Later on in the story, Melquiades' concern about Jose's failure gave him a compass, an astrolabe, and some maps so he could feel motivated again. Jose spent many years submerged in his world of science, the world that the gypsies brought to him. According to Vasala's model, the sharing of these inventions from the gypsies to Jose Arcadio can be explained in three phases. The first phase refers to a non-scientific society and its interaction with the scientific world. In the model, non-scientific is everything outside European knowledge, and for Gabriel García Márquez is the town of Macondo. Science during the initial phase is an extension of geographical exploration, and it was an exploration that took gypsies to Macondo in order to show all the wonders that existed in the scientific world outside its boundaries. Although in Marquez's story the gypsies are not European, or at least it is not stated, but it resembled the center of knowledge that Vasala emphasized while arguing that is the Western Europe the place where science was born. Nevertheless, in this analogy, the gypsies represented this science that was new in this remote land. Therefore, all the places where the gypsies collected inventions, each one acted as a center for the diffusion of the modern science. Then, by taking the inventions to Macondo, the diffusion process occurred. The second phase is marked by a period of colonial science. In Marquez's text, Macondo is not a colony as America was for Spain or Great Britain, but it represented that innocence or ignorance when the foreigners arrived bringing something unknown to the villagers. Phase 2 can occur in situations where there is no actual colonial relationship. The dependent country may or may not be a colony of a European nation. In the story, the gypsies can be considered as the colonial scientists that took science into this sort of colony, and their knowledge was beyond the boundaries of the land in which scientific work took place. It is probable that they did not have formal education regarding those scientific inventions that captivated Jose Arcadio, but they did know enough to share science with others. Finally, the last phase involves the process of transplantation with a struggle to achieve an independent scientific tradition, or culture. It is some kind of integration between the local person, Jose Arcadio, and the visitors, the gypsies. Even though Jose wanted to improve the use of the artifacts with his creativity, its efforts ended in failure. Perhaps that is the reason why this step is the least understood, appreciated, or studied aspect of the process of transference of modern science to the wider world. It is easy to share science, but to cultivate it in a foreign land is a complex process. The colonial science does not adequately prepare a country for the arduous task of creating and supporting native scientific institutions. Consequently, Jose faced tremendous issues while working with his experiments. Basala's model regarding the diffusion of science does contribute in understanding how the gypsies created a bridge between the scientific world and the one without it. The exploration that took the gypsies to Macondo allowed the villagers to learn about science. As colonial scientists, they shared their inventions that were acquired in distant centers of knowledge. Finally, the villagers, represented by Jose Arcadio Buendia, tried to develop new understandings out of them. In spite of his numerous disappointments, it is evident how this encounter with science changed his life. Therefore, its diffusion thus connect worlds and thus affect lives.